Hello everyone, it's Daz, and this week's discussion is on some things that have been on my mind, part 16. It's been a while since I updated this series, and this time around I want to discuss the spirit of confusion and its relation to the pursuit of truth in our walk with Christ. What I've come to find is that on my mission to grow closer to the Most High, to follow what His Word says, and to be salt and light on this earth, I've often tried to adjust my life to fit what Scripture says, and when you pair it with understanding certain truths or waking up and being what some may call a truther, it can make your adjustments huger than usual. And something that I cleaved to and struggled with was, what do I call the Most High? What do I call Jesus? And I got a little bit into what some may say the Hebrew roots movement. I wouldn't have considered myself a part of it, but in terms of trying to figure out, since the letter J wasn't in the alphabet when He walked the earth, should I be calling Him Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yahawashai? Should I be calling Him Yahweh, Yahweh, all these different versions of His name? And then there would be those out there who would say, hey, why are you calling Him those names? No wonder you've been attacked. Those names are demonic. Yahweh is satanic. It's Satan, and you should be calling Him Jehovah, and yada yada yada. And it got really confusing because I would often find myself 1 minute using the Hebrew, then the next minute using English, and I didn't know which to use. And what I found in the past was, whenever I had any sort of spiritual attack, I prayed to the Father, I prayed to the Son as God, as Jesus, and I understand God is someone you worship, and not everyone who says God is talking about the same God that you and I serve. However, the issue of it was, I was focusing too much on the name like it's a talisman, and not enough on the one behind the name. And it's similar to the fact that I have a mother, and if I called out Mom, I know who I'm talking to. Not just any woman am I going to expect to answer. I'm expecting my mother, who I know the voice of, who I know the face of, to answer. And that's the same way we should be about God and about Jesus, is that when we call out His name, we're focusing on Him and His power and His glory and His presence, more so than just saying the name like it's some kind of good luck charm that will will away misfortune, will bring us riches, and will protect us from evil like some sort of good luck charm. And unfortunately, there's too much emphasis and obsession over His name, and this leads to a lot of confusion because people fight, they bicker, they claim people aren't truly saved, or they're deceived if they're not using the right name. And I really prayed about this, and I found I'm just going to say what comes naturally. I'm a native English speaker, and had I spoken Spanish natively, I might be saying Dios or Jesus rather than God or Jesus. Same way if I spoke Italian first or any other language, I may be calling Him by a different name. Does that mean that if His name can only be used in Hebrew, that everyone that is using His name in any other foreign tongue is at fault and He's not listening, that He turns His back? Because I haven't had Him turn His back on me when I called out to Him, because He knew I was talking to Him, because I know Him and He knows me, and that's an amazing thing. Another way there's a lot of confusion out there is simply with the versions of the Bible. Which one can you trust? And then you add in the Mandela effect, conspiracy theories, and it just gets crazier and crazier. What I've come to find is that while I prefer to read out of the King James Version of the Bible, I sometimes find myself going to the NIV, the ESV, or the American Amplified Version just to see how things read in layman's terms. If I notice chunks are omitted, I'll go back to the King James Version. But I feel as if sometimes some people are completely non-receptive to messages if it's not preached out of the right Bible, and they get so upset and so tangled up in what's the right version, I can only use this version, that they're not really taking the Scripture to heart or even knowing it. They're more focused on being correct, and that's a sad thing. Also, with the Mandela effect, while I do believe there are things you can find that weren't necessarily what I remember reading in the Word, I feel like there's a lot of confusion or giving the devil too much power if one believes that he can actually travel time or change things to that effect. And I never want to give Satan too much power. In all honesty, it's his plan to make us confused, to make us feel like God is limited, to make himself look like he's more powerful than he really is. And if we get it into our minds, I don't know what the right name is. I don't know what the right version of the Bible is. I don't even know if the Bible I have even seems the same as the Bible that I had 10 years ago because of the Mandela effect. You're going to be stifled by crying out to the Father. You're not going to know what to call him. You're going to be focused on the correct name. You're going to be focused on so many other factors outside of him, and that's very dangerous. We should never get to that point. But sometimes, sadly, this is what happens. And I found myself slipping into those patterns, but I thank the Most High for showing me the truth about this. And this is not an attack on anyone out there who teaches these things. I commend you for that, but what I've found is that that's not what I was called to in terms of having to use his name in strictly Hebrew. If that's what he called you to do, then you do it. But I've just heard so many terrible things people said that the name Jesus means, but yet he answers my pleas for help, and I thank him so much for that. But I'd like to know what you guys think about these issues, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week. I'll talk to you either in next Monday's live stream, which I apologize for not doing a live stream this past Monday. I was out of town and I got back a day later than I anticipated, or I'll talk to you all in next Wednesday's video. God bless.